Having made hasty excuses at the ball, the detecting duo dashed out of the party, hailed a cab as Hetta explained her theory to John about the culprit, and then, for a reason that puzzled John, they had stopped off briefly back at Hetta's apartment to collect something, which she quickly shoved down the front of her gown before John could get a good look at it, and then continued on to Gold Avenue, where Hadrian resided. Now they sat in Hadrian's mansion. The room that currently enveloped them was decorated almost entirely in black, from the furniture to the velvet curtains. Their only colour was the panelled walls, dark green wallpaper, but even that was adorned with twisted patterns of ebony branches. The master of the house entered shortly after Hetta and John had been ushered in by the high-nosed butler. Hadrian was donning a black silk robe over dark trousers and yawning slightly. Hetta caught a brief glimpse of his perfectly carved chest and hastily looked away. But not quick enough for Hadrian, who noticed and smirked to himself as he sat down in a plush armchair behind his desk and addressed Hetta and John in his deep, rich voice.
"Ah, the cripple and the maiden. How good to see you again. You're very fortunate that my, female companion is currently sleeping, else you would have had a very long wait. The art of the bedroom is not something to be rushed. Tea? Coffee?"
Hadrian had barely finished his sardonic speech before John, no longer able to contain his outrage at the insult to Hetta's physical state, leapt to his feet. He was flushed with fury for Hetta and humiliation for himself, for Hadrian found it immensely amusing to tease John about being a virgin since he had guessed it the first time they met. John's normally cool demeanour always deserted him around Hadrian. There was something so reptilian about him that it made John's skin crawl. That, and also the way he looked at Hetta. There was admiration and a fire in his eyes that not even his hooded lids could disguise. As you've probably guessed by now, dear reader, John was uncomfortable with any man looking at Hetta in a lecherous manner. John launched himself across the desk and grabbed Hadrian by the throat. "Show some respect, you whore!" he cried. Hadrian barely flinched as he stared calmly up at the man who was perhaps half a head taller than him and 10 times stronger.
"You don't like me, do you, John?"
he said quietly. John growled. "That's an understatement. You're a perversion to manhood, enslaved to many women, manipulating and wounding wherever you can. There's no honour or self-respect in your line of work."
"Better to be enslaved to many women than just one," Hadrian drawled, and John paled slightly. Looking over his broad shoulder, the courtesan addressed Hetta. "You should keep your dog on a leash. Aren't you going to call him to heel?"
Hetta rose and gently laid her hand on John's arm. "John, please sit down." "Thank you, Hadrian. I would love a cup of your excellent coffee. John will have one as well." John, angry at himself for having allowed Hadrian to goad him into losing his cool once again, sat stiffly down and glared at him. Hetta, in turn, settled back into her seat and grimaced coldly at Hadrian, who made a show of smoothing down his robe where John had creased it before ringing the bell and ordering 3 cups of coffee from the haughty butler. Once he had gone, Hadrian clasped his hands together and asked,
"So, how can I be of assistance?"
"You can retrieve the emerald necklace that you recently gave to your lover, Lady Everwood, and give it back to Mrs. Greystone. I trust you'll be discreet in doing so." Hadrian smiled faintly.
"I don't know what you're talking about."